two all right, guys?
Welcome back to the LFC transfer room. Thank you very much for joining us today for the 7:30 p.m. stream. It's 2 minutes late. I won't say why. The guilty party knows who they are. It's not, but yeah, anyway, yeah, we are 2 minutes late, but it's fine because we've got plenty to bring you today. And yeah, I'm joined today by Tom, Kev, and Kings because we've got plenty to get through during this international break, which feels like a Game of Thrones winter. It just feels like it hasn't ended. It just keeps going and going and going. And I'm ready now for Liverpool to play again. And I think this is the thing that really irritates me. I don't know about you guys. Is I love watching England play, but the fact that both games were done in the space of the first week, it just feels like the second week has been absolutely pointless. And it's really stressing me out. But we are going to get into some news today. Everyone, please make sure to click like and subscribe. If you're watching over on Twitter, head over to YouTube to get involved with the comments. We've got to discuss Omar Marmoush because that news isn't going away. There's plenty of other wingers that we're being linked with, and we've got some questions as we're going. If you've got anything you want to ask, anyone you want to know, get involved in the comments. But we'll go to you, Tom, first, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, not bad, mate, yeah. Same as you, missing the footy badly. International break, third one of the season already. It's just not ideal, is it? But, not last one till March now, isn't it? So 4 months of footy straight. I'll have a bit of that. So, yeah, looking forward to the Reds coming back.
Yeah, I think at this point, you made a good point before we started. Like, we were on such a good run of form and momentum, and it really is disappointing that we hit that standstill when we did, because I was like, honestly, I'm ready for Man City now. That's not changed in a week and a half, and we play them really soon. But I just really wish we could have kept that momentum going. Kev, how are you doing, man?
All good, mate. Good to be on again. It's like a regular thing now, isn't it? So, no, all good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm not. You know what? I'm doing great. I'm actually doing quite well. I'm quite happy doing this, which I love. Things on my channel are going well, so yeah, I can't complain, man. All good. Thank you very much for asking. And Kings, how are you doing? I understand you have your clock broke. That's something which we're all a little bit shocked to hear, but yeah, there was some timekeeping issues today, which I'm not going to let you live down.
I don't know what you're talking about. I was here before you went live, wasn't it? Just about.
Sorry, I can't help it. It's just yeah. But you're doing good there.
Yeah, doing good. I'm a bit like Tom, to be honest. I'm fed up of the international break. I don't know if it was Kev, actually, a few weeks ago said, or somebody on one of the shows said, why can't we have it all condensed? Why can't we just say, like, right, November, just have all the internationals, or whenever you need them, September, whatever it is, get them all done, and then just get on with the season. Nobody really likes international football, do they?
Have like a month and a half off kind of thing, and then it's done for the...
Yeah,
that's not a bad show, actually. I kind of like that.
Just want to.
Do you not like any international football? Do you not like Wales? Not like just not.
Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the biggest international football fan and I follow Wales here, there, and everywhere, because it's a lie. But it's not because I don't think Wales. I mean, they qualified against Iceland, same as Northern Ireland and England qualified up in the groups of the Nations League. Ecstatic for them, and when they were in the Euros, got to the semis and all this. Fantastic feeling. But being a smaller nation, there's never really that much pressure on Wales. And it's like, I don't know, it's been one of those, I'm not a lover of it. I find it quite slow paced. I suppose you grow up getting used to the First Division and then the Premier League. It's so fast. And I just think, you know what, as soon as we go to other football, even some European football, I find quite slow. And I think, you know what, it's just not for me.
I find that like the Italian league at points, especially like not now so much, but a few years ago it was dull to watch. And I get it, but like even with Craig Bellamy, former Liverpool player, managing your national team, not do anything for you.
Yeah, I know. I'm quite excited. Like I said, I think it's 6 unbeaten now, which is great for Wales. To be fair, like I say, in 2015, 16, and going to then Euros and the World Cup. Pretty much for Wales, to be fair, is probably a golden era, because they've got to the Euros and going to a World Cup and watching them, play there was fantastic. And I'm sure he'll do good. To be fair, I don't think he's one to be messed with, as we know at Liverpool. You can ask John Arne Reesa maybe. It's don't mess with Craig Bellamy, especially if there's any golf clubs lying around. And I think he'll be a strict manager, but I think he'll be fair. And so far, it seems to be going good. Like I say, he's got them through the Nations League, and it's now gives a couple of easier months, I think, before the World Cup qualifiers start. And hopefully, I suppose benefiting Wales in that is I think it's expanded this time. There's more teams. So we'll probably get into the back door and be able to enjoy it at least, because we're never going to be there, and win the World Cup. It's very unlikely, isn't it? So it's like, I think we'll get in because it's been expanded. That makes it easier for nations like Wales. And then I think he'll get him there, and I think he'll do well for Wales, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to see former players do well, as long as he's not threatening my favourite player of all time, John ฤiță. Then we've got no issue, because I don't know about you guys, I love John ฤiță is my all-time. I absolutely adore ฤiță. Kev's shaking his head. I want to know why, Kev. Why are you insulting my God?
I think there's far better left backs that we've had other than him. Let us down against Chelsea in the Champions League in the season that we lost. So, yeah, there we go.
I mean, no, I mean, as in, he wasn't great. Don't get me wrong; like, he wasn't a class player. But when I was a kid, and you're hearing these stories about he broke this player's leg by kicking it so hard, you'd see the goals he scored. Like, oh my God, he was my Loch Ness monster, so to speak. As a kid, he was like urban myth. And then when you see doing what he did and scoring the goal he did against like Birmingham City, Chelsea to get us through to the FA Cup semi-final or final, I can't quite remember off the top of my head. Scored against Arsenal, that free kick against Man United. I absolutely love John ฤiță. I just think it's a weird, do you know how we've all got that player that we all love, but it's like they weren't the best. Like Divock Origi, for example, he was never the best, but we all love him, let's be honest.
I suppose, to be honest, Lou, I think it's more of an age thing, though, isn't it? Different age brackets. Like I'm older, and fair enough. You'll have somebody. I'll probably go back and say, "Oh, cult hero John Aldridge" or something like that. Now a lot of people go for Ian Rush. Do you know what I mean? But I'll be like, "Oh, John Aldridge's just got something about him," and I love listening to him talk now.
Yeah.
When he's on the radio doing commentary and stuff like that. And it's just certain players stick out. So it depends on your age, I suppose, as well. Of maybe the I don't know what like Kev and Tom think. They've got their own probably, but just eras depending on your age, I think. Then makes you think of a particular player.
Yeah. Well, Tom, I mean, have you got a particular... This is a good thing to start off with, because obviously we're going to go into the transfer stuff later on, but have you got that Liverpool player who maybe everyone else sort of looks at and goes, oh, he's pretty average, or he's pretty, Naby Keita about him, but like, someone who you really enjoyed that maybe not a lot of people saw that same magic in as a footballer?
I mean... My childhood hero. I mean, I love him and I hate him at the same time now. But it was Torres. Like Torres was the one that just he made me fall in love with football. Torres, and just there was something about him. Just I don't know what it was, but I just love Torres. And I mean, like I said, I kind of love him and hate him at the same time now. Obviously, because of what he did. But when he played for us, I don't know. There was something about Torres that I just loved.
I tell you something, Tom. Right, with Torres, he was the last player that I ever grew attached to, as in somebody who kind of, I worship him on the field. He's so good because of what he did and how it worked out going to Chelsea. I'm staying there, I'm going, and he's gone. That was the last player ever that I thought, you invest in. Now, to me, I have to say it bluntly, it doesn't matter if it's Salah, Gerrard, or whoever, they're just players. They're great, and you love watching them score and everything. You'd be disappointed if they leave, but I don't worry about it too much anymore. It's just a case of,
Torres I'm being bits. So
yeah.
There's something to say about that. Do you think, and anyone can jump in on this because it's a really interesting discussion. Do you think that that's just the direction football's headed in nowadays? There's so much talk on contracts and money that it's impossible to gain those sort of emotional attachments with players like you used to when you were younger and back in the 2000s or something along those time periods?
I think Kev said it a couple of weeks ago that all this stuff going on with Trent. It's getting boring. If you're gonna go, just go, and we'll deal with it. If you're staying, sign your contract and stay, and we'll deal with it whichever way. But I think that's true. It's just kind of just pick what you want to do. Stop messing everybody about behind the scenes. Potentially, I'm assuming that's happening because nothing's getting signed. And it's like, listen, if you go in, that's fine. We can all learn as adults to deal with that. But this kind of mystery of is he going, is he staying? It's like, it's ridiculous. So don't get too attached, and then it doesn't matter.
Nev, what do you make of this whole? Because we're not going to discuss like the Trent, Van Dijk, Salah, so to speak, but just football has become a very. You can't get too attached because we've seen players. I think Salah's probably the most recent example for us of a player who probably could have gone to somewhere different, but has chose to remain with us. But like, do you think that the age of becoming emotionally attached to players and feeling that kind of connection to them is gone, like in the modern game?
I think it'll never go. I think fans have an addiction that something that you can't put a finger on it as to why you love that club or why you can put it down to certain generational things, your family, etc. But you have an addiction and you're drawn to it, whether you win, lose, or draw. It's mad. Prime example. Look at Everton fans who go home and away. That I probably haven't only seen them win once or twice away in the last 2 seasons, but they still going. It's in, and we have an element of addiction to it, and we have an addiction that and because of that we feel that there should be loyalty from the players aspect. But I think we tend to forget that players are actually working, and it's hard for us to fathom that they are actually just working for a job. And if you try and look at it from their point of view, you're going to be the same. You'll want to get paid the most. You want to be getting better contracts than what you're getting, and you don't have, if there's an alternative in your line of industry and they're offering you more, then you're going to jump ship. I think with fans, there's a loyalty, and there's a thing that you don't go to certain clubs after. You look at what's happened to Michael Owen. You look at any player that goes to Everton or vice versa. It's mad to think that we actually look at these players and want them to have that kind of affection, that kind of affinity to the club. But they're not going to. They're going to be very few and far between, and they're starting to dilute even more so now, due to the amount of money that's in the actual leagues. And if you've got an element of winning and that's what you want to do, then there's other alternatives across Europe that you can go to. I think as fans, we need, I think, someone getting to the realization now that is the case. And I think you find the older you get, the more or less loyalty you expect. So I used to love every Liverpool player, and I used to cry when they left. I remember, show me age now, I remember on April Fool's Day that Everton were going to sign Ian Rush, and he had a Everton top on in the Shoot magazine. This is how far back, and I was crying my eyes out. And my dad told me it was just a wind up. It was an April Fool, but that's how much I felt for the blood. Do you know what I mean? But I wasn't the only one. But that's the affiliation you have with the club, and you expect that to be the same, especially with the homegrown talents that are around. But not necessarily the case. Some of them hate playing football. Some just do it because they're good at it, which is bad in a way. But that's what it is. But I think we need to get the idea that they are just working at the end of the day. And go on.
Benoit Assou-Ekotto, the Tottenham left back, like a couple of years ago, he said in 2012 during the Luka Modric thing that playing for loyalty is overrated. At the end of the day, this is a means to an end for us. We are here to make money. What money do we get from loyalty?
Well, yeah. Well, you think about it. It's a short career, isn't it? If at the very most you're talking about 15 to 20 years, with ourselves, we work for more than 30 years. Do you know what I mean? So but don't get the endless amount of money that they get, but they have a talent, and some of them feel like that. Some of them just play for money. Some of them just want the money. Winston Bogarde stayed at Chelsea as a sub and didn't even want to play just because he was getting 50 grand a week. So
Scott Carson.
Yeah, Scott Carson as well. Another one who's gone round and has got trophy after trophy, but he hasn't got many games. But you'll always have a minute percentage of players that will be like that. And they're and you find in any industry, they're the ones that actually are the moaners and groaners, and the ones who are doing well will always be the ones that will be kicking off. And you get it with any type of industry that you go into. It's just that with football, you live, breathe, and drink it. Do you know what I mean? So it's difficult though, because it's hard trying to explain to your child as to why the player that you love is decided to move on to another club. And as Tom mentioned about trying to explain the Torres to Chelsea thing, it's devastating. But at the end of the day, it's if you take a step back, it's hard, which is hard to do. It is just another job, and we are affiliated to grown men play football, and hope that they stay at the club for as long as they do. But some don't see it like that. Some are bored even when they're playing. So it's a hard one, but I do think it is getting a bit diluted. The days of a Maldini staying to the end of his to the end of his career with one club, it's very hard to see at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they come and go, and like, if this was a case of you were stuck with the same players for the whole career, we'd still have Balotelli, we'd still have Markovic, we'd still have Andy Carroll and all these wonderful people. So thankfully, it hasn't happened. Paul said, I watched a lot of rugby over the weekend and it was seamless with the referees and TMO. I think the FA and PGMOL need a complete reset, maybe discuss later. I'd happily discuss that later. I've got no problem with that. I've given my thoughts on David Couth on my own channel, which... Thank you very much, Paul. I really, really do appreciate it. Go check it out if you haven't. A bit of a self-plug there. Sorry, Steve. Having Bradley is a great backup for me. Absolutely. Jamie says, hello, everyone. Hi. And then he put even Lou, which, sure. Thanks. Appreciate that. And he also put, can we smash the likes for Kev, which we all really agree that we all need to do. He's also put a question, which I'm going to put, I'll put to you, Tom, first. So, question, I asked the night crew this last night, at what point do these contracts become a distraction for a club trying to, and in a position to, win major trophies in terms of the players, much like Klopp was finally a distraction last season? Now, it's a really good point, because these players surely can't be focused 100% on football all the time. Like, maybe during matches there's nothing else at that moment that really matters, but behind the scenes they go on Twitter as much as anyone, they read the newspapers, they go on this and that and get all these stories and rumors just like we do and report it to you. Like, how much of an impact must that have, Tom, on players like a Trent, a Salah and Van Dijk who are expected to perform at a world-class level week in, week out?
I mean, yeah, it's far from ideal, isn't it? It's arguably your three best players all, possibly leaving in a few months. It's not going to be good for them or for the rest of the team. Because the rest of the team are going to be thinking, if all them three go, then what's my future going to look like? The club's probably not going to win, many major trophies if they all go, because they're irreplaceable players. So yeah, it needs. We've said it countless times already. It needs sorting sooner rather than later. The players or the club, whichever one it is, they need to make their mind up whether they're going to stay or go, because it's just unnecessary noise around the club. We're doing so well at the moment, everything's so positive, but it's kind of being negated a little bit by all this noise. It would just be nice if, every press conference they could just ask a lot about the team and how well the team's doing, but every single press conference is, what's happening with the contract, and it's just, like I said, it's just unnecessary noise that we don't need. So, yeah, I don't think it impacted too much, because, like you said, when they get on the pitch, it's one of them. You focus on the game, and you do whatever you can to win. But it's just unnecessary noise. And, like I said, I just hope they come to a solution one way or another soon. Because it just needs sorting, and we need to keep arguably our three best players at the club.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm bored of it now. I'm in that sort of state where I'm like, if stay is what I want, of course, for all three of them. But if you're going to go, just have the balls and just say you're going. Like, maybe that's the wrong phrase for it, but I'm just bored of it now. I watch football to enjoy it. I don't care about the behind the scenes politics and budgets and wage. It doesn't arse me. It's good for videos, but not for the enjoyment of the actual sport. Huzan says, is he coming in January to Liverpool? And I'm assuming that's going to be who we're going to talk about next very briefly, which is Omar Marmoush. Kev, we've spoken about him a million times, so I'm going to go to Kings first, and then we're going to sort of go around. But the latest reason, so the reason why I've put that Bayern bottle Marmoush transfer is because according to multiple reports, including CF Bayern, who are a very reliable source, Bayern Munich are not going to enter a bidding war with us for Omar Marmoush if they decide to make an offer. They think that the 50 million to 60 million euro price tag is deemed expensive for a player in a position where there's no urgent need for the German club. Now, that's a really good point. Like, we know Bayern Kings have got like a million wingers. You've got Serge Gnabry's there, Leon Sané's there, Kingsley Coman is still there. Like, there's a lot of different options in winger for them, and them signing them surely would just be unnecessary when there's other areas of the pitch that need strengthening for them. Besides Bayern, then, I don't think there's any other clubs really going for him. So with that in mind, should this be a transfer we go for even if Salah does stay? Or do you think this is dependent on Salah leaving this transfer?
I've seen a few of the rumours that maybe he could be Salah's replacement. I mean, was he 25? I think he is. Isn't he the top scorer at the moment in the Bundesliga?
Yes. So if you're going for Omar's actual stat, sorry, just his goals and assists for the season, he is currently on... in the Bundesliga, he has made 10 appearances and he's on 11 goals and 7 assists.
Now, I suppose we always say about the Premier League that it's a very tough league to come to and play in. It's probably one of the toughest. So having them kind of stats shows he's got an eye for goal. There's no issue with that whatsoever. And as has proved, flipping it the other way with Salah, you know, he come in with Chelsea and everybody was like, he's not that good, and they got rid of him. He comes back and he's obviously a club legend. He's phenomenal. So it just depends, I suppose, with every club on the timing and the personnel around you. Now, he could come in and he could be so good with or without Salah in the team. I'm not, you know, I don't really know if he's going to come in and replace him. That's a big ask. But I suppose sooner or later, whether it's this guy coming in or whether it's 2 years, if Salah signs a new deal, somebody's got to come in and replace him. So you've got to start somewhere. So whether you look at him and say, right, bring him in now, say January, he's got a few months with Salah, potentially a bit more if he signs, and he could learn from him, come in sporadically, I suppose, and then take over. I don't know. It's a really tough league to come into from maybe the Bundesliga. I mean, Harry Kane's gone the other way, and he scored phenomenally for Spurs, and he's done it there. But I would go as far as to say that the Bundesliga is an easier league. So he's obviously Harry Kane's a talented striker, but I think he's finding it easier to score there than he would maybe in the Premier League, and he did phenomenal in the Premier League. But coming the other way to the Premier League for the first time, I'm thinking, you know, would he cut it? I don't know. If the price of 50, 60 million is true, I mean, to teams like Liverpool, I suppose £50 million now is what you get for a mid to a higher range player. You know, I've said before, 25 million nowadays gets you somebody just random. I think it comes in, you think, well, how's he cost so much? Because that's the going rate. It goes up and up every year, it seems. Whether he's good enough, I'm not sure, but I'd like to see more of him, you know, come the end of the season, see what his stats are like by then, after the full season, and see if the club have maybe put in a bid for him by then, but I'm not sure.
I mean, we've got to think, Kev, that like there are question marks over it. He's doing really well at the moment, but how many players have we seen do class in these leagues who they come to us or they go to other clubs and they just don't quite hit it? But one player who's not done that because of injury, which is something that we did say was going to happen probably at some point, was Federico Chiesa. Now, it's far too early to be dismissing Chiesa. It's far too early to be saying that he's not going to get a chance in this team, but we do need to consider the fact that he's come in, he's played 2 or 3 games and he's already out, and it's an injury where he's needing a pre-season in November, nearly December. We do need to maybe look at it as a backup is needed to Salah. Would it make sense to sign a player of this caliber as a rotation player with Mo Salah, or would you be looking at someone maybe a little bit cheaper who can sort of learn and develop into that role, so to speak?
So, of his goals, and his assists, how many have come from right wing? Do we know?
I can find out if you give me
'Cause
like
I think-
2 minutes. I will try my best.
I think, and this is where you're going to decimate me like you always do. I think he scored more as a centre forward than he has as a right winger.
Okay.
That's what I think.
I can
You know, this opens the door now
that.
for a chart now, don't you, Kev?
Well,
He's
you know,
got his foot in the door now.
I'm not bothered. You know, he's done me once already with the Tsukameni.
No,
You might as
hang
well do
on.
me with this.
I just want to clarify. I don't do anyone with anything. I love everyone. I just the stats speak for themselves. Carry on. I'll find them. Keep
So
going.
if he's scored, you know, half of his goals at right wing, and then obviously it's seen as someone who can come in. I don't see that as much with Marmoush. I see him coming in as a centre forward, which then means that we are going to lose, and we get a ruthless slot. So you'll end up with either Jota or Darwin going if we do go after Marmoush, because I think he's more of a centre forward than what he is as a winger. And trying to play him in there where he may have scored little, if any, goals at all, I just think it's a big risk to do that for someone of Salah's calibre. And I do think that, I think the goals that you do miss from him, you end up with having to buy two players to play in that position rather than the one, because there's no one out there that can do that. I think the only thing that goes in Marmoush's favour is he's scoring and assisting, similar to what he was before he joined Liverpool and when he was at Fiorentina and Roma, which is around about the same age as what he is now. So for me, I see him more as a centre forward, and it would then see us getting rid of either Núñez or Jota.
On that note, Kev, who would you choose to replace them? Out of them two, would you pick one or the other?
On that, I think it's difficult because in one hand you'd say Jota because of his injuries and the amount of games he loses, but then at the same time you look at what Núñez is doing, and albeit he's doing well, I just think if you got someone like who was a prominent striker in there, you would probably get someone closer to a Haaland finishing with the chances and opportunities that we have, who's a genuine forward, than trying to make someone who's a left winger into a forward, which is what we're trying to do with Núñez. I think he's done okay this season. I think he's working harder than what he has done. Defensively, he's doing a lot more. So for me, it looks as though he's booked his ideas up. But, you know, he scores a great goal against Villa, and then he has a similar chance 2-3 minutes later, and just, you know, I don't know if that's even. I think that ended up in the River Mersey, and that's how far wide he is. So, you know, that's and that's what you're getting. You're getting an up and down. And if you're getting someone, imagine if it came down to that actual chance that actually wins us the game. That's the area of what you need to improve. And if Núñez can do it, then fine. But I think it's a difficult one, Kings. I'm going to sit on the fence with that one.
Well, you can come with me. Sit on the fence with me. You'll be all right.
Well, I found the answer to your question as to where the goals come from. Here we go. And you know what? You're going to be proud because I'm not actually disproving you. You're kind of disproving me, to be completely honest, because this, in a bit of a... let me get rid of the brand just so everyone can actually see. Those dots are the goals that he scored. Now, the bottom two, so this one and this one are free kicks. They're not open play goals. The others are all open play goals. So the dots are where they've come from, and how large it is the likelihood of him scoring from that position, if that makes sense. So that one's the biggest because obviously he's right next to goal, whereas that one was at such an awkward angle and it was very unlikely he'd score it. So he is very much a central style player as opposed to someone who is able to cut in and score from distance. So you are right, actually, to like a big point, Kev. Like, I always associated him with this right-sided player who cuts in, but by that, he's someone who likes to hang around in the box and get the balls fed to him and, you know, put them in the back of the net. So, I mean, that for everyone, so Tom, Kings, Kev, like, is that the type of player that we need? Someone who's going to like a Haaland, where he doesn't necessarily have to do too much movement, just someone who could sit in the box, get one touch a game and get a goal?
I think if Salah was to go, then we do need someone like that. I think when you've got Salah, obviously 20 goals a season guaranteed, then you don't really need that number 9, do you? That's going to get the goals, because obviously you got Salah. Whereas if Salah goes, then you got 3 or 4 forwards that all good players, but then none of them have got that killer instinct, do they? Jota, Darwin, Nunes, Gakpo, all very good players in their own right, but none of them have that killer instinct. So I think we would need that number 9 to get 20 goals a season, because Jota, his injury record, he's getting on a little bit now. I think he's 28, so he's getting on a little bit. So I think I'd look to cash in on Jota in the summer, if I'm totally honest, just because the injury record it's just not good enough, unfortunately, for him. And then I keep Darwin as the backup striker, but again, don't think he's the answer as your main number 9. So I think if Salah was to go, I think you would need a number 9 and obviously a replacement for Salah on the right. I love Isak. I love Isak from Newcastle. I think you could have spent 60 mil on Marmoush. I'd rather just spend, say, 80, 85. I think that'll get Isak done from Newcastle. I think he's just absolute quality. I think he gets you goals, good link-up play, Premier League proven, good in the air, strong. I think he's just got a bit of everything. Isak reminds me a little bit of Henry from what I've seen of Henry. The way he moves, his technical ability. Do you remember that goal against Everton a year or two ago at Goodison, where he just took them all out? He's got that in his locker. So for me, a number 9, if you're spending 50, 60 mil on Marmoush or someone like that, I'd rather spend an extra 20, 25 on someone like Isak. And, Premier League, like I said, Premier League proven. His goal record's very, very good. He got 21 goals in 30 Premier League games last season for, not a great team. And as I said, he's got it. He's not just a goal scorer. He's very good link-up play technically as well. So that'd be my shout for a number 9. I think he's got a bit of everything, to be fair.
Can I offer the sort of? I completely agree that I think he's an amazing finisher, Isak, and he is Premier League proven, and he is a fantastic player. But, and again, I'm only doing it to play devil's advocate. I'm not disagreeing with anyone. I just like to put the thing out there. We're saying about Diogo Jota's injury record. Well, Alexander Isak, since he's been at Newcastle, has had 4 injuries. During that time, he has missed 38 games, which is, that's a Premier League season's worth of games, essentially. So we're talking about a fantastic player who's more expensive than Marmoush, but has got injury problems in the same way as Jota. So, I mean, is that not something that we'd need to consider with regards to this?
A little bit, but I think, he played 30 Premier League games last season. So, it's not ideal, obviously. But I just think he's such a good player, and I think he's just got so much to work with. And he's only 25, isn't he? So, and if you keep Darwin as well, say Isak, even if Isak missed, say, 8 to 10 games a season, you don't mind playing Darwin for 8 to 10 games a season. And like I said, I just think Isak, he's got potential to be world class, I think. So not ideal, the injury record, but I'd still rather him. I still think that's less of a risk than someone like Marmoush coming from the Bundesliga. I still think it's less of a risk. So I'd still rather spend a bit more to get someone like him.
Kings, I mean, any thoughts with regards to? I mean, Alexander Isak is a really, really good shout. Like, he is talented. No one's going to dispute it. Like, it's such a weird. Like, would you rather go for an Isak who is Premier League proven but will probably cost a bit more, or would you rather go for the Marmoush who, obviously unproven in Premier League, but he probably offers a little bit more all round, so to speak, in terms of what he provides for the players around him?
Yeah, I'm not too hung up on if they've been in the Premier League or not. As I said earlier, of course, it takes time to adjust. And we all thought that with Darwin. It's like, okay, he'll find his feet, take time to adjust. He's still adjusting. It's not going to happen, is it now? I think by the end of the season, he'll be shipped out, to be honest, on that one. But I just want the best fit for the club. Whether that's somebody who's already played in the Premier League, or whether it's Marmoush or somebody similar that comes in. If he replaces Salah, the only problem is, I think Slot then will tweak the side up front. I don't know if he'll change the formation slightly, because even if this Marmoush comes in and goes, right, he's going to play on the right wing, and we're going to see how he goes. It's so almost impossible to get a like-for-like replacement for Salah, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he may tweak, I think, the front line then and say he could, even the formation, he could end up with just 2 up front instead of maybe 2 wingers, or a central, or 3 interchanging. It's a real difficult one, and obviously with the contracts running out, I'm not so worried about the defence or the right back. I mean, Bradley's a fantastic right back, and there is others out there. And with Van Dijk, you'll always find top defenders. You can get. I'm not saying it's easy, but you'll get them. But attackers in football, or strikers, whatever they're called, forward players, they're so elusive to find the perfect one for your club, the right fit. And whether this Marmoush and Isaac, I'm not sure. I watch him. Yes, he's good. I'm not going to say he isn't, Tom. He is top quality, but would he fit in Liverpool? I don't know, to be honest. And that's the only thing. You never know until they arrive at the club, and you pay an arm and a leg for them. Whether you pay £5 million or £105 million, you never know. It could just be amazing business, or it could be, as we've seen with Darwin, was it 60 odd million or 70 million pound, and it's just it's not really working out. It's a big loss to hit them when somebody else comes along and says, oh, we'll take him, but he's on half the wages, you're getting half your fee back if you're lucky. And so it's such a hard thing to find the perfect match at the right time. So
I just think
I'm not 100% on.
I just think Isaac, even if you only get 30 games out of him, I think he's guaranteed 20 goals, whereas Marmoush, he could score 5 goals. He's one of them. He could score 5. He could score 30. You just don't know. Whereas, as I said, even if Isaac only plays 30 games, I just think he's a guarantee of 20 goals. So that'd be my argument for him over Marmoush. Yeah.
He's going to get more chances, I think, at Liverpool. I think there's more quality bringing the ball in. So yes, he probably would do it, even better than maybe 25 goals or a few more. You never know. It's like I say, it's just being at the right place at the right time with the right player.
Kev, I think you're the tiebreaker, so to speak, with regards to this. I mean, I feel like if anyone's got a thought on this, it's going to be you, because you speak very passionately about attacking players, and obviously Isak is one of these people who he definitely does score a lot of goals. I think he had Newcastle's highest scoring season since Shearer last season. I think on 23 or something ridiculous like that. I can't remember what it is, but it's definitely a talented player. But with another question saying, is Chiesa staying or going? Is the middle necessarily an area that we need to strengthen when we've got a player running down a contract, a player who's very injury prone in Chiesa? And in the middle, you've got Jota who's injury prone, but you've still got Nunez, you've still got options. What are you prioritising in that front line at the very moment?
I would be prioritising a young right wing, a person who can play on the right wing. And for me, I'd go out and get Kvaratskhelia. That's the one who I would have. That's, if you're asking me, that's who I want. I want someone who's got that kind of wing-esque, a bit like Barnsley back in the day, who's got the ability to take players on, but has the natural ability to score as well. I think that's more of a place that I would prominently be looking at. I agree with you. I think down the middle, I think we've got lots of odd options. You've got Jota, you've got Gakpo, you've got Nunez. Diaz has played there this season and scored. We have an abundance of talent, and I'm not saying that either one of what Tom says and King said are wrong. Me personally, I wanted Isaac before he went to Newcastle. I thought he would have been great for us. Sadly, he never came. But I do not like replacing a player who is on the medical table with another player who's missing the same amount of games, albeit he's got a better goal ratio bet. But I don't think it depends. You say 8 or 10 games. Who are those 8 games against? Because that could be against in this run of games where you're playing Real Madrid, you're playing Man City, and you're left with just your second striker up front, who I don't think would score that many goals against them. That's me personally, and that's not against what you said, Tom. I think you've made some great points about Isaac, but for me, I would be looking more for someone who can play on the right wing than someone who can play down the middle. But it's difficult though because we don't know what Slot's going to do. We have that many options in our forward six that we would love to have the ability to say that we've got the same in other areas, such as centre mid, such as left back, who I think is one of our biggest weaknesses this season. I think the thing that we need to get out of is trying to replace Salah's goals now and trying to replace it with what Salah was doing before he came to Liverpool, and at someone who's got the potential to reach the ceiling of what Salah's done at the club and can move up and can actually make himself an absolute worldie. We've seen it with likes of Barcelona. We've seen it with Real Madrid to an extent with Ronaldo, but then they had the perfect person that was already there. The French striker, the old fella, help me out, Luke. What's his name?
Who's this?
Left to Saudi, who was at Real Madrid. It's French forward. Benzema, right? Yeah. So, perfect example of someone who's done it and sacrificed himself. Have a look at the stats before Ronaldo left, and then look at the stats when Ronaldo does leave. He changed those assists into goals and sacrificed himself in a way that I haven't seen a centre forward do, and had the football intelligence when he played against us of how good he actually was. He was unbelievable against us. His football, not necessarily what he was doing with the ball, but it was off his ball movement and what he was doing, which is a big thing I look for when I'm watching a match, especially at Anfield. So having that ability to have the football intelligence to just turn things around and bang. But again, at the end of the day, Lazidi said when Hazard, there was quite a few other players ahead of Benzema that they were trying to replace Ronaldo with, and he was always the third or second one, but he was the one who ends up turning everything around. But you look at Messi, Messi leaves Barcelona, they're still trying to replace his goals. It's a difficult thing to do, and when you've got someone who's scoring and the ability of what Salah's doing, I don't see anyone in world football who's doing that in that position at the minute. And that's why I think we need to take it back to a place where it is possible and feasible to do. And that's where before he joins Liverpool and has the ability to then get to that level. That's where I'd be looking. And there's only one player out there, and that will be Kvaratskhelia for me. But there will be others that everyone will turn around and say is better and a better option. He plays on the left wing, I get that, but I think there's no reason why he can't play on the right. But it's difficult though. I there's too much abundance down the middle. What's your answer then? I'm sitting on the fence with this one with these two. So
I'd rather Marmoush personally, but I think that's just because I feel like he's got a bit more to offer in terms of his overall play. Isak's class, don't get me wrong, I think he's absolutely amazing, but he's going to cost more money. He's still got the injuries about him. And I think Marmoush, the thing that's really selling me on him is the fact that not only has he got 11 goals, but he's got 7 assists. And that to me is saying that he's bringing other people into play. He's bringing other attackers into play. And that's what we want, ideally. I would rather more of a Bobby Firmino type and leave the goals to the likes of Salah and Diaz than I would a Torres through the middle who's just going to be the only one scoring goals and everyone else sort of struggles. But there's one player who it's been breaking news, I suppose, on the LFC Transfer Room Twitter, which is Ryan 𝗟𝗓𝗓, 21 years old. Apparently, according to many, many reports, there's concrete serious interest from us because Slot likes the player. And given Lyon's recent financial struggles, which could see them relegated into League 2 in next season, he could be picked up for around 25 million euros, which is about 20 million pounds, around about that mark, which is cheap as anything. And again, just going to go on to the stat side of things for him, because 𝗟𝗓𝗓 is, if it actually wants to load, that'd be fantastic. So this is across Europe's top 5 leagues. This is the top 5 leagues across Europe. So Premier League, Bundesliga, Italian League, Spanish League, and the Eredivisie, I think it is now, not the French League. These are his stats as comparison to that, as well as the Champions League and Europa League. He's in the top 98% of assists this season. He's in the top 98% for shot creating actions, passes attempted, progressive passes, successful take-ons, touches. He seems like a player who's good on the ball. And I think with the way we want to play at the moment, the way that we want someone who's going to be able to bring others into play and progress play forward, there's worse gambles than £20 million on a 21-year-old who, from a club that's going down, probably going to get relegated next season. You could probably get him for an even cheaper deal than that. Like, Kings, does it make sense, or does that deal make sense on paper rather than trying to sign someone like an Isak or a Marmoush for an exceptionally high wage, just that extra level of depth and someone who's clearly capable of playing the way that we want to play?
I think it's been proven time and time again with FSG that it'll be left curvier somewhere that you're not expecting a particular. So somebody like that might be, who comes in and you're thinking, okay, now the news has kind of come out, but it's the olden days, I suppose, a few years back, they just bring someone in and you go, I didn't expect that, didn't really know of him too much, only £20 million, etc., instead of just going for the obvious 50, 60, 70 million pound striker. So they've done that quite a few times, and that's whether that would work, I don't know. I think it's one of them in the chat here. It's Paul Golding's, but he said, what Slot's done so far is amazing. He'll have done his homework, and that's the truth of it. He will have looked at a player and really thought, I suppose like Klopp did. If that's who they want, they'll kind of have 5 or 6 on paper, and then Slot will look at them individually, I suppose, and do their homework on them, and then say, right, well, actually, he's the best one for that role that I want. And at this point, yes, he's playing with the players that Klopp left him pretty much. So whatever formation, if it's this one he wants to do, or if he wants to tweak it, he's got to wait until at least the first transfer window in January and then the summer, because we all now are really happy with the way the results have gone so far this season. It's been brilliant. And it comes back to the thing we started with, the international break. It's a curse. It comes at the wrong time. And I think once we get to January or even the summer, we may not recognise the front line half as much as we think we're going to, just because we keep saying, Salah's going to go. He might stay, but 2 others might leave, and he tweaks it a completely different way. We don't really know what's in his thoughts until the transfer windows have played out a little bit. And this player might come in, again, he might be fantastic. He might be a failure. It's so hard. And I genuinely wouldn't want to be a manager, to be honest. It's very well being a manager from the sidelines when we can all shout and go, well, you put this sub on now, or you've done that wrong, etc. And it happens in every level of football. We're all managers from the sidelines. I wouldn't want to be in slots or any managers, even in the National League, I think, because you get so much right, but as soon as you get something wrong, they're on your back straight away because you've lost 2 games or etc. I just wonder, if this guy comes in, if he can come in and do the job, then we'll all be happy. We won't worry what he costs. We'll just worry about, can he help the team win? And that's ultimately what we all want. So it's hopefully, yes, he has done his homework and we'll get the right ones in.
So Cherky can play as he's more an attacking midfielder, but he's capable of playing on the right. The only issue with him is his work off the ball is pretty poor. It's what he does on the ball that really sets him apart from a lot of people. And I think, go to you, Tom, and then I'll go to you, Kev. Like, we've seen in Slot's system, it's vital that players work off the ball. Salah this season, I think, has been doing really well at tracking back. Same with Gakpo, same with Diaz. So does it strike you as a bit strange that this player who is not known for his off-the-ball effort, so to speak, is linked to an on-slot team where it's just as important what you do off the ball as it is on the ball?
Yeah, it's a bit surprising. Obviously, the stuff looked promising. It's lower risk at that price, at that age as well. It's definitely not someone that you're going to be replacing Salah with. If we replaced this guy with Salah, I'd be, a bit gutted. Like, I'm not going to lie. I think it's one of them that you just a kind of future player. So low risk, 20 mil. He's got a bright future ahead of him, and he's someone to learn behind someone like a Salah. If you replace Salah with someone, I don't know, even like a Bowen or someone like that, I think Cherky's someone to, learn off him, stay behind him. If he's 21 years old, coming from the French league, coming to Liverpool to replace Mo Salah, I think that's a bit too much to ask, to be honest. But yeah, I like the player. I like, the potential signing for the price. But as I said, I'd like him to come in as a backup rather than, coming in to replace Mo Salah. That's just too much to ask, I think.
Oh yeah, no, you're never going to get anyone to replace Salah. Like that's just never going to happen. And like, Kev, I mean, is that a notion that we do need to stop trying to do? Is replace Salah, because no one can. Let's be honest. Even if he does leave, if he doesn't leave, at some point you're never going to be able to replace him. So like, does it make sense to be looking at someone that we can long term develop, or I don't know how to put it. Like, what do you make of the Cherky thing? If that is the player that we are looking at, does it fit the profile? Does it make sense?
I don't know. I don't know what Slot's looking for. No, to be honest, I'll be honest. If this is the thing, we haven't really seen what is happening. All we know is that Slot is dealing with a predecessor's team at the minute, and he's doing a lot better than what Klopp did this. If we're looking on where the team was doing last season in comparison to this season. So far he's doing well. He hasn't made any ruthless decisions, and Feyenoord fans have mentioned recently that, if you think this is good, wait until he starts being ruthless. I'd like to know what his end game is. I think until we come out and go, right, we're doing a big formation change and we're going, everyone who plays on that right wing will be obsessed. And as Kings has said, we'll be like coaches at the side going, not a Salah though, is he? Do you know what I mean? Salah would have cut in there. And, do you know what I mean? So that we're going to get that. We're going to get that when Virgil leaves as well, and when anyone else. It's hard. It's difficult as fans as to switch off and think, oh well, we'll move on. We've got a new way of looking, and we've got a new development. And we'll go in with our best interest to be like that, but it's hard not to get into the habit of Salah would have brought that down. He would have freed, and would have paid the price over there, and we'd be away, or we'd be counter-attacking. And you know what I mean? It's difficult. The issue you got with Cherky is he's young, far too young to even put into comparison to Salah. Because it's not until Salah gets to 23, 24, 25 where he starts hitting the numbers that makes us interested and keen for him to get to that. The issue you've got then with Cherky is he's playing in League 1 as well. And as you've quite rightly said, he's not one for getting back. So, is that a mentality thing that you can change and coach? You're hoping that can be the case. But then has he got the pace of what Salah's got? Can he be as progressive? I think you see him more as an attacking midfielder in the middle of the park rather than someone out on the wing. So it gives you another option to maybe a Szoboszlai or maybe another alternative for Harvey Elliott or even a Curtis Jones in the sense. So, it gives you more players who have that creative mindset. But again, I don't think it's actually the player that I think is going to be being crowned as the new king at Anfield. I don't think it is. I think we need to wait and see what slots. It'll be interesting in the summer or this January to see what actually happens, because only then we'll be able to obtain the way this formation and our style of football is going to be different, and what we're going to do. So he puts his stamp on it. I think it's very easy to go, well, we can bring him in and all like that. But again, I'm just sitting on the fence as I always do, Luke. So please politically take me off it if you need to.
I'm not. You can sit on the fence all you want, because I'm in the same. I haven't a clue, and it is strange because I think a lot of people sort of, when Slot came in, a lot of people expected them to go out and sign this player, but he's not, and we don't have a big parameter for what he will bring into the team. Obviously, Chiesa was a bit of a shock one, but I feel like anyone getting Chiesa for 10 million, even with the injury issues, is still a low risk reward. So I don't think that's really epitomised Slot's transfer policy as such. More so, the club saw this player for 10 million and thought, yeah, we can do that. And Mamardashvili is just a contingency plan for the future. So, no, I agree. 𝗟𝗓𝗧 makes sense to an extent. But Omar Marmoush, I think, is the one that everyone wants, or most people want. Some people want your Isak, some people want your 𝗟𝗓𝗧. I'd be happy with Omar Marmoush. I think he's the one for me. Paul says, I can't. Are we staying for 2? I don't think we're staying for 2 hours. Oh, okay. So Jamie said we could go for 2 hours today because he said that we've been excellent. Thank you very much. There's another Paul saying he can't stay for 2 hours. He's got a party at 𝗡𝗢𝗧. He, they serve Coke, not Pepsi, is the way to say that one. So yeah. And Muse, I've been hate watching Sociedad, and then they go and beat Barcelona. They did actually, which is a bit of a shock, to be honest. I don't think anyone saw that one coming, especially with the form that they're on right now with Hansi Flick's team. But we are going to shoot in a second. But just really quick around the room for like 30 seconds apiece. I mean, Pep signed a new contract. It's like, is everyone just as disappointed as me?
No.
Is that no? Yeah.
No, I'm not disappointed at all. I think he's been vocal in the media that if it is found that they are guilty or they've lied to him, he's out the door the next day. And I fully expect that to happen, as and when they decide what the actual punishment is. So I don't know whether it's something that Man City are trying to do to try and downplay what's happening. But for me, it's not a surprise at the minute. It doesn't surprise me at all. Give him a 10-year contract if they wanted to. It doesn't bother me. And all I'll say is when you watch Man City play, it'll be the last time you'll see them in the league. So, appreciate what you're watching.
It is commendable, to be fair, that he's. It's nice when you see like top managers go and manage in like the National League and stuff. It is really entertaining to see. So big credit to him for actually doing it. And I suppose Kings, like, now we've gone down like a bit of a rabbit hole, and it's like a minute or so, but it's really telling that they've offered him a 1-year extension on a contract which was up in this summer, not like what we used to do with Klopp, where it was here's a 4-year extension, here's a 3-year extension. I mean, that to me is saying he's going to be gone soon, and I fingers crossed. But do you feel that same way about it?
I think it kind of, what Kev says is right, to be honest. And who am I to disagree with Kev on this show? Yeah. Well, exactly. It's like nobody does, do they? I'm not surprised they put the contract there for him to sign, but like you say, a 1-year extension, is it really worth it? Probably not. I think it's all academic, to be honest, as Kev has already said. I genuinely feel before the end of the season that these charges are going to come out now, and they're going to be sorted to a point. Maybe it might not be all done by the end of the season, but I think it'll start filtering through, and I think he will leave, to be honest. I think it's just put out there now and keeps their fans happy, and makes them feel, oh, it's great, we've still got this top manager, blah, blah, blah. But as Kev said, when it really starts hitting the fan, he's going to be out that door faster than they can blink. And where they play after that, I don't know, but they won't have Guardiola in charge if they're not in the Premier League.
Yeah, and I personally think he's going to be gone sooner rather than later. That's my personal. Yeah, Lasady says on 1-year extension shoots form for Pep. He did it at Barcelona because he was on a rolling contract. He had a 3-year one at Bayern Munich, and I think the last City one he signed was a 3-year deal. I think because I think there was a clause that if he didn't win the Champions League within that time, he could negotiate with other clubs or something along those lines. I don't really know, but he hasn't really been doing the 1-year extensions at City, so to speak. But yeah, we're not. They're going to be in League 2 sooner rather than later, so it's not really going to be much of a bother for us unless they meet us in the Carabao Cup. Fine, have at it. But I think that is going to do it, to be honest, because we've now got to the point where we're actually talking about City, and I just don't have the sanity to do it anymore, to be completely honest with you. So we are going to end the stream there. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. If you haven't done it already, make sure to click like and subscribe. I did not save the comment, so I can't put it up on the screen, but just do it. It takes 2 seconds. Like, you're right next to the button, so it'd be great. Thank you very much for watching. Tune in tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. UK time, and